Hey handheld lovers, welcome to the first annual handheld game collection video and subsequently the first video on this channel. This video is just going to be a bit of a showcase of the handheld gaming systems I own right now and some of my experiences and stories with them. And then after, I just want to talk a little bit about this channel and what my goal is with it. I'm going to go in order of when I personally played / owned the systems, basically when they were just added to my collection, not when they came out. The first system to look at is my DS Lite. I had one way back when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I used to own one of those old R4 cards that I'm sure many people had. It was a very awesome thing to own, as I'm pretty sure the R4 card I had a pretty sizable micro SD card in it, so there was just an unbelievable amount of games, as well as like cheats and all that sort of stuff. Overall, the system was just very memorable, and it's definitely one that I look back on very fondly. Sadly, this DS Lite I have now is not the one I grew up with. That same goes for the R4 card. I remember finding it a few years ago, but I don't know where it is now. My current DS Lite was given to me by my grandfather, which is where most of my home console library, even my TV, is from. Like, all of these home consoles here connected to it, and most of my game library has all come from my grandfather. This DS Lite isn't without its issues though. The biggest is, of course, the dead pixels. I have considered using this system to practice reshelling and fixing screens and that on it, or even trying out the old homemade Game Boy Micro, but I've just never really spent the time to do so. The next system I grew up with was a DSi, and again, this isn't the one I grew up with. Funnily, I actually bought this off of an old friend from high school for like $20, which is about 13 USD. The only issue with this thing is that the trigger buttons don't work, but he did throw in a case and a handful of games, so in my opinion, I got a really good deal on this. I want to add that for the moment, I'm not going to go really in depth with these consoles, their designs, and all of that sort of stuff, as I'm kind of saving all of that for future episodes in this show. I will say, however, that this system wasn't very memorable to me, and in my opinion is a pretty overrated and weak handheld considering the lack of backwards compatibility and just a few other reasons. Moving on, the next handheld I received was my Game Boy Color, which I got in 2014 for my 10th birthday. This system was just an absolute joy to receive. There was just so many surrounding factors that made getting it so amazing. I got it at a time when I was really starting to get into retro gaming, and it's in my favorite color, yellow. I still remember to this day getting this thing wrapped in a towel that was put inside of an old Tiny Teddy's box. I'm not even embarrassed to admit that I cried tears of joy when I got this thing. However, nowadays, it's really sad to see that this thing is on its last legs due to my own childhood neglect. The cover for the battery is broken and just doesn't sit well. The battery slot itself is corroded and the springs are a little bit bent, occasionally launching the battery out. The thing is, this thing is in desperate need of a deep clean, and as you can see here on the screen, there's some disgusting 10-year-old McDonald's sweet and sour sauce just stuck under there. So yeah, this thing is either in need of repair or replacement. Considering I don't really play on it that much, and the cool variants I've kind of had my eyes on, I've been considering the latter once I save up a little bit to just get a replacement one. But overall, this system is absolutely wonderful, and it's one that's just so special to me personally. The next handheld I had was the... oh yeah, I broke it. I had a 2DS, but I broke it years ago and then just continued breaking it for fun instead of getting it repaired or trying to repair it myself, so yeah, what an idiot. Next, the most underrated system I own, which is the PS Vita, and this thing is amazing. I adore it so much. With a great library of games, crazy backwards compatibility support. I know everyone who talks about this system says this, but it's a real shame that Sony didn't see or realize the potential of this thing. Hell, you can even connect it with a PS3 or PS4 via Wi-Fi, letting you play from anywhere as long as you have a strong enough connection. Something that the newest Sony handheld is only capable of. Well, that and cloud gaming, but one, cloud gaming is awful. Two, you can only use it with an adult account, which is weird considering handhelds are typically more targeted to kids. And three, The only way to play cloud gaming on this thing is by spending $200 a year for the premium subscription to PlayStation Plus, making it more expensive for a lesser experience than just getting a PS5. I have a lot of gripes with this system, so maybe down the line when I get my hands on one, I will definitely make a video going in depth as to why I don't like it. But going back to the PS Vita, it is just such a wonderful handheld. Dual joysticks, impressive library, an OLED screen. It's just a very, very wonderful handheld to both play on and just admire. I do have a bit of a funny story with this thing. I got it in 2018 for my 14th birthday, and it was refurbished from EB Games. However, when I got it, the previous owner's account was still logged in, meaning I just couldn't play any games on the thing. I'm not too surprised, no one really cares about the PS Vita, so it probably wasn't refurbished to its best ability. But when I took it back, they said it would take a week for it to be refurbished properly, which I was pretty bummed out about, but my mum ended up buying me Dead Rising 3 and Rare Replay, which more than made up for things, as they're games that I've just always wanted to play, so thanks again, Mum. I purchased my next handheld after I broke my 2DS. I think it was around 2019, and that system was the new 2DS XL, the black and blue model with the pre-installed Mario Kart 7. This thing was a real treat to own and play on. Unfortunately, this thing got even less use compared to the original 2DS I had, as it suffered the black screen of death, and nowadays the thing just rarely turns on, which was a major bummer. I am pleased with it, however, as it was my first modern handheld system that I purchased with my own money, and it was quite a big purchase. Regardless of the issues that a lot of people talk about, I do really like the original 2DS and this system, for a matter of fact. These two do get a lot of flack online for their limitations, but in all honesty, I personally like them just a little bit more than the 3DS variants. My next system was one that, in retrospect, I really reconsider why I even bought it in the first place, and that system is the modern Mario Game & Watch. Yeah, this system is kind of a piece. I bought it back in 2020, which was because that was my first year of having an actual job, and because of other factors at the time, I guess I was just kind of willing to waste my money on anything I could get my hands on. I kind of get the appeal of this thing. There was one for The Legend of Zelda, and these are cool collectibles for fans and that, but the price point and the limited selection of titles just makes it kind of a paperweight of a system to me. I'll definitely go more in depth with my gripes with this system in the future, but I'll leave my thoughts there. Quick mention before getting to my last two systems is this bootleg handheld system I got as a Christmas gift. We all know the kind, plug and play systems with terrible emulation quality, typical brags about having hundreds of games despite all of them either being shit or bullshit. But I think this thing is just hilarious. The limitations gives it a really weird charm that I can't help but laugh at. It's definitely something that I'd love to do a bigger video on in the future. And the emulation quality is so bad that it's kind of good in a weird way. This brings us to the second last system, which is my Nintendo Switch. And this system is an absolute beaut. I got it in, I think, 2021 for my 17th birthday, and I still to this day haven't explored the full potential of this system, as these right here are my only titles I have. As much as I'll bag on Nintendo for being greedy, I have to say this system is really good. The decision to make it a hybrid with detachable controllers to support multiplayer titles makes this system the perfect choice for parties, and the fact it's portable with an amazing library of single-player first-party titles, and even some really good third-party ones, makes it just an amazing system to own even if you're playing solo. I have considered getting a yellow Switch Lite because I'm obsessed with the design and mostly just play non-docked anyway, as well as my current Switch has some small signs of wear from me being careless with it when I first got it, but with how limited the Switch Lite is in terms of functionality, and the fact my Switch currently works fine as is, I just see it as a bit of a waste of money. Chances are if I had a Switch Lite, I'd probably use it a bit more in public, but what's the point when I can't share the fun with my friends when we're out in public? Again, with the price point, my unexplored use of this system and the limiting features, I just don't really see the point in getting one. I'd love to get one, but right now, I don't even see myself getting one even if this Switch breaks. I'll probably just end up getting a pre-owned Switch or a Switch OLED. I will say, it saddens me knowing the mistreatment of my Joy-Cons means that I don't have the pack-in ones, or the replacement ones, or the pro ones which I broke like an idiot. And the fact that this yellow one, which despite not being a big Fortnite fan, I like the color, and again, the rail is pretty bad. But overall, I do love and appreciate this system so much. I just wish I took more time to look into the exclusives and actually took care of the system when I first got it. Finally, there is the last addition to my collection, the crown jewel if you will, and I only got this thing like a few years ago, and that is my limited edition Pikachu New 2DS XL. From design to function, this thing is simply perfect. Sleek creative design, yellow color, the big screen of the new 2DS XL, and the best part of all, it's modded. I got this thing in, I think, 2022, 2023 before the eShop closed, and I mainly got it just to relive the titles I played on the DS and 3DS, but nowadays it's on par with the Vita as my favorite handheld. I know the fact it's modded might sway my opinion as there's just endless gaming opportunity, but genuinely, this thing is amazing for what's available on it. In fact, modding is the reason these things go for so much money now, and it's really easy to do. By the way, for legal reasons, Nintendo, I do own all of these games. They're just somewhere else. But seriously, this system is just phenomenal, and is always just my go-to for on-the-go gaming. Lastly, I want to talk about the channel and what it's for and why I'm starting it. As someone who just loves and appreciates handheld gamings, not just for the titles, but for the hardware as a whole. I love how handhelds take different directions from console releases, and the limited hardware typically results in my opinion, more interesting titles to talk about. To me, handheld systems just interest me as a more limiting hardware that can be enjoyed both at home and on the go. These limitations give them a charm, and their designs, history, marketing has just always captured my eye. So for that, I dedicated this show and channel to just talking about them, sharing my thoughts, love and appreciation, and occasional hatred for handheld gaming as a whole. I can't thank you enough for watching and or checking this channel out. Again, thank you for watching the first episode. This is Batteries Not Included, and I'll see you all on the flip screen.